everyone, welcome to a very special episode of StormCrows TV. And today we will be discussing this small indie series that you probably haven't heard of. So, The Witcher is a series of 8 episodes which follow the trials and adventures of Geralt of Rivia. It is based on a book series of the same name, which has spawned a very successful video game franchise and amassed an extremely loyal fan base. Now, fair warning, there will be spoilers ahead. For those of you who want to watch the show spoiler-free, hit pause, go binge, come back and listen.
You're probably wondering what our take on The Witcher is, and honestly, I loved it. But then we all know that I have a very deep love for things that have weird narrative frameworks, and the whole multi-timeline thing totally worked for me.
I also very much loved it, but as you know, I have a very deep love for all things Henry Cavill and muscular and leather bound. A lot of the criticism I've been hearing is that it's really hard to follow because of the narrative jumps and time frame and whatnot. And yeah, maybe in episode 1 that was a little jarring, but it wasn't that hard to follow once you understood what was going on.
To do it linearly, like, you'd have ended up with so many flashbacks and so much exposition. Like, this is really the least painful way to do it for the most amount of people. I liked it. I liked seeing Calanthe at different points, like Calanthe as grandma versus Calanthe as, a younger mother and queen. It was a very, that actress had to be having fun with that gap.
I liked how it began. She was a very maternal, very caring, and yet she's very much the Lion of Sintra. But as the series progresses, she's painted in a very boorish light. So it goes from you're this really wise, all-knowing queen who led your people and all that stuff, and then, oh, she's kind of a dick, which is great. I love it.
Speaking of your love of Henry Cavill, I'm not really into Henry Cavill until Geralt of Rivia happened, and now I love him, and I love that voice that he's doing, so I will accept Geralt, no questions asked.
He does him so well. Normally, because I'm such a fangirl and I'm so loyal to my fandoms, when they adapt the things that I love into movies or TV shows, I'm very critical of the people that they cast. When they announced Henry as the Geralt, there was never a doubt in my mind that he could tackle that character and do it so well. He owns that role.
Especially seeing behind the scenes interviews and him talking on interviews, the amount of campaigning he did to get the role, and how much and how enthusiastic he is about the games and about the books and the role itself. I can't argue. I think he went above and beyond, and the fight scenes, the amount of choreography and training he must have been doing to get those fight scenes down like that.
Speaking of, that was a hell of a way to open the series.
Oh my God, yes.
Because for those of you familiar with what we do, what we talk about, we've done Discovery of Witches, and we kind of made that Twilight comparison. And I'm not going to lie, it kind of opens up like that. You've got this forest, and you got the deer, and you're in this dark place, and you're like, oh, great, starting like Twilight. This can't be great. And then all of a sudden, he comes out of the water and is brutally fighting this creature that's 5 times his size, and just so great. And then he kills the deer, and you're like, this is not at all like Twilight. This is amazing.
The fight scene with Renfrey, I loved how completely balls to the wall brutal it was with her men. And then he gets Renfrey, and you can tell with the choreography, he is trying not to hurt her or to kill her. He is trying so hard to talk her down while she's trying to kill him. And I just loved their use of the fight to further the story. That when he finally, when it finally ends, he did what he had to, not that what he wanted to do.
I remember really appreciating that fight because it was realistic, and that, yeah, sometimes you can't block. Sometimes the best outcome is that you're going to get a pretty bad cut. And it was just there was blood everywhere, and the adrenaline, of course, they're not going to stop fighting. But I remember just thinking, wow, this is really well done.
No, most of the fight scenes throughout were really well put together. I don't remember a single one where I was like, oh, come on. I have seen some professional fighters dissect the fights in The Witcher, and they do have some criticisms and like pointing out stylization or, you know, the reverse grip he does on the sword and a few other things. But really, going with the fact that you are telling a story through the medium, they're still pretty well done, and they are some of the best fight scenes I've seen. I don't know how they're going to top that for season 2, but, you know, with a whole year between, I get it, but that's a really long time, and I'm glad that they've already greenlit season 3 so that when they do season 2, they can maybe get a better schedule and a better turnaround rate between seasons 2 and 3, because the whole year and a half between series and 2 years even, I'm looking at you, HBO, has not been great for a lot of fantasy series.
And we'll see what happens. Sometimes things come out sooner than you thought they would. Infinity War. So, like, you know, it could happen. And we'll just keep our fingers crossed and know it probably won't, but it might. But yeah, that's one thing that a lot of people have complaining about. And I think there's a lot there. Like, it makes sense. Like, I don't like that I have to wait that long either. But another thing people have been complaining about that I just can't get behind is there's been a lot of Yennefer hate.
I don't understand. I was thinking maybe you, having done the video games, might have a better idea of why everyone hated her so much, because I really like her.
I do prefer Triss over Yennefer, but in terms of narrative, I don't hate her.
But I think the show does a very good job of showing that not everyone's gonna be a good person. And, I mean, she's doing the best she can with what shit the world has given her.
I like that Yennefer is not a paragon, that she makes bad choices along with good choices, that she messes up, and she is trying. She's given the right to be her own character with her own flaws and her own mistakes. And I think that makes her a much better love interest. I would think it would be the most boring thing in the world to see someone with, like, Geralt and some sort of courtly love, pretty pure princess soulmate. Like, ew.
Yeah, I don't think that would work for him. And I think there's a lot to be admired. I can see why people don't like her. I can see why she comes across as this selfish, unapologetic, really heartless woman, but at the same time, she's also a symbol of breaking out of the shackles. She was a slave to circumstance. She was born, she never asked to be born. She had these deformities, she didn't ask for those, and yet she had to continue to suffer that and deal with how society looked at her, and then never quite matching the expectations of the people that did come to take care of her and care for her. And in the end, she was able to transcend it all and make her own fate, her own destiny. And it turned out, well, I'm not really happy with this either, but she still has the power to go, I don't like this path, so I'm going to go on this path. And in so many ways, that makes her more free than any of the other characters in the show, including Geralt.
You know, she made this choice because she thought she wanted the shiny, shiny power and the shiny, shiny everything, and that was going to solve all of her problems, all of the self-consciousness. It turns out turning, you know, the plastic surgery did not fix the thing she actually wanted fixed. And it also cost her a lot more in the long run than she anticipated. And I kind of loved that they even included her going back to her ex-boyfriend. Everything else has gone to hell, and she tries to do the thing where you go back to the long-lost love interest and strike it up again. And he looks at her and he's like, that's been 50 years. Yeah, and I don't know what you want.
I was proud of him for doing that, because it's always nice not to see that people are besotted by their genitalia. But, like, at the same time, isn't it the worst when you try to get back with your ex and he's just with a cult?
I know, right? Like, sorry, I was in love with you, but now I have a cult.
Yeah, I just hate when that happens. Yeah. So common. No, and they do a good job with the cult too, or Nilfgaard, because it's like, you know, when you start the series, you're like, oh, I'm supposed to root for Sintra, and this is supposed to be really bad that Sintra's fallen. And then as the series goes on, you realize, oh, Sintra's kind of a douchebag. They didn't treat Nilfgaard very well, but then you're like, wait, Nilfgaard's kind of shitty too. Oh my god, everyone's really shitty. And they do casting so well, because I just hate everyone, but in the best sense. The guy in the black armor. It's like, oh my gosh, you look skeevy. Can I punch you in the face, please?
I have no idea what his name is, but I just think of him as Mordred.
And his mage, she's so well cast. She rocks the hell out of that part. I don't want to overlook her. So it's just, she does a very good job, especially when she finally is like, hey, remember that murder wizard school you made me go to? And you were very helpful to me then. I don't need you now. Okay, thanks, die.
She's the niece of the head of wizard murder school, right?
He's on the council, yeah, the Brotherhood. Yeah, because nepotism was mentioned, and she was supposed to take the position that Yennefer got.
Yes.
Well, technically, I mean, in a roundabout way, because Yennefer was supposed to take it, and then nepotism stepped in, and then Yennefer went, oh, hell no.
Yes. I like the dig from the dragon about, like, yeah, you know, if someone stronger had gone to Nilfgaard and guided them, maybe we wouldn't be having all of this war right now.
Well, I also like the dig of, yeah, if we had just sent Yennefer over there, they'd still be a shithole country, and she'd be, yeah, because you didn't teach us to do shit. It's your fault that we suck. And then she's like, I don't care what happens to any of you people, you're all scum. And then it turns out she cares about at least some of them, and it was really beautiful.
While we're on the subject of, like, not overlooking characters, because, like, everyone, I mean, it is hard to look away from Geralt and Yennefer and Ciri and the big mains, but the sexy warrior wizard.
Oh my god. Okay, again, if you've been with us for a while, you know, he reminded me so much of Domenico from A Discovery of Witches that for a moment I was like, is that the same guy? Is that the same guy? No, I think maybe I'm starting to develop a type. But yeah, no, sexy warrior wizard was amazing.
Apparently,
and when I thought he was dead, I was crushed. Not unlike his head.
I won't lie. I was a little sad too when he hit his head. I'm like, no, don't die. Oh, you came back, but now you seem to have come back evil. Oh well, you're still here.
I think that last scene worked really well too. It was just having written a lot of battle scenes that there were a lot of things that were happening that I'm like, why are you doing it that way? Man, no wonder Nilfgaard's winning.
They definitely went for narrative and character over the sense making of Nilfgaard's advance, because why is the key to the north unguarded? Like, well, also, why isn't the army already there?
Also, why is it made of straw? Like, I understand a medieval fantasy setting, like, you're supposed to have that aesthetic. But when you look at some of the other cities, masonry has come a long way. There are buildings there that I think are as tall as the Empire State Building, but you're telling me that this choke point that is super important to the north, a big bad wolf can come and blow it down.
That battle, like, if you see that castle in real life, it is filmed on location. So that's probably part of it. But, like, guys, CGI a little extra castle in. Just right. Do it next time.
I mean, you've got a whole city made of CGI. Why couldn't you? My other point, I guess, is if I'm just a band of, like, a couple dozen wizards and I know a whole army is advancing, I don't know that I would hold that position. Yes, we're going to lose this really important place, but we're going to lose it no matter what. Us dying is not going to change that. This is basically an Alamo situation. No matter what you do, you're going to lose this battle. I wouldn't have held it. I would have been like, oh, wonderful. They shot fireballs at us to warn us. Let's freaking leave.
I think what the reasoning there is you need to hold a position so that the reinforcements, the full armies can come down from the north to meet you, and then you can try to retake. But when you realize that your reinforcements and your supply train are way further off than you think, and you're not getting supplied from the north, and they've cut off your supplies from the south, honestly, fall back and burn the bridge.
Yep.
Burn the bridge and set up some real quick, magical fortifications where they can't get anything across by magic that will hold for a week. Something. But this is again where magic and world building and warfare kind of collide, because unless you have some real strict cost and effect and limits on magic, it gets, what can't you do is really important.
They do try to establish that. I do like that there is a balance, like something has to die for something else to be created. So at least they try. to establish something like
But I
that.
was wondering,
It's
like, what were they costing while they were there? Because it seemed like by that point they were freeloading a lot of spells, and I was like, I didn't see no flowers dying.
Yeah, it was kind of inconsistent, but for the most part, it's like that woman who like crushed them all. You know, the nosebleeds, and then I'm gonna kill the grass, and the other
Well, and the
one.
Nilfgaard mages like giving their lives to create the fireballs was pretty. Like, that's definitely a cult. Good job.
Yeah, I would die in that. Like, I'm not gonna say I don't have the mentality to be in the cult, but I don't have the determination or the lack of laziness. So it'd be like, hey, now it's your turn. I'd be, you do it.
I'd be like, I'm portaling out.
If it's a cause worth dying for, you die for it.
How many spare apprentice mages did she have to create them fireballs? Like,
Well, apparently they're enslaving all the mages anyway.
oh, so it's that or death, so you die either way.
Yeah, I think that's what they were talking about before they did their big vote. And it was just, that you're enslaving them, and she's like, yeah, but it's for the greater good, and we've made so many strides. And I'm like, huh, okay. I've got some problems with that, but that's okay. It's
I
like,
did love her speech that was big on the banality of evil. Like, but we're making so many strides, and progress is important.
I also like the brutality of like the common soldier on either side, no matter what kingdom you're following. The way they handle their victims is so awful. Like, none of you are the good guys. I don't want either of you to win.
Yeah, I was big on the brutality of war. But they made that point with Nilfgaard in this, that they are especially brutal. Like, there's no prisoners. They just torture and maim, because if you're not in the cult, then you don't matter. Whereas at least with the Centrans, they just enslave you, right? So you're still alive. That's totally better. No, it's not better. But, one of these, there's a chance where you can run away and escape to another kingdom. And the other one, you're in pieces on a roadside. So.
Also, I really liked the friend that Ciri made when they were in the forest area and they were about to drink the water of Lethium. I mean, the water of the forest and forget everything. I like that friend because it's like he was so devoted to her, and I'm going to leave this paradise for you, even though I want to forget my life. And you know what? Screw you. You're stupid. You're too stupid to be allowed. I'm done. Like, I like that they don't have, I'm going to be with you forever. We're going to be best friends for, it was, yeah, I hit my wall. I'm done. Bye.
I can definitely see why he snapped with Ciri right then. But, they're both kids too. Of course he would hit a wall, and of course they would break up. And I also like that Ciri didn't try to argue. That, like, even she realized that what she's doing, she shouldn't have anyone with her, because it is going to get them hurt.
Now, you did have some people on Twitter, Simon Hillman 7, who says that Ciri might be too old.
Narratively, trying to have a 7-year-old or a 9-year-old live through that siege and escape and get through all those adventures, she'd be dead. Even with special screamy siren powers, I think she'd still be dead.
I mean, aging up is not uncommon. You see it in Game of Thrones. You see it in a lot of things. Like, you age your characters up for a lot of reasons.
I mean, her actress is like 18, and she's playing a 12-year-old, and, for CW logic, that pretty much works. It's probably a lot easier to have her deal with stuff than to ask an actual 12-year-old and deal with child actor restrictions, so...
Right. It's like, the labor laws are very much different. So yeah, if you can find an 18-year-old who can look like a 12-year-old, you're going to hire that 18-year-old because they can work like an adult.
Yeah, Ciri's plotline was the weakest for me, but it was because it was more the standard 12-year-old running through magical world, like Percy Jackson and Harry Potter and all the others.
Another comment that Simon Hillman 7 had was that Triss was wasted. And I think in this situation, I do agree. Because I love Triss. It took me a while to warm up to the actress. I did, but I think I would have faster if she'd been there more.
And I wondered if, like, because we're getting multiple timelines, if we won't see more of Triss and Yennefer hanging out earlier/later. Speaking of characters you grew to love after reservations, Jaskier?
Oh yeah, I hated him, and I thought, I'm not going to be able to get through any scene with him.
I didn't either at first.
I think the moment that I pinpointed, like, yeah, I can deal with this bard was when he almost died. And it's like, and then he woke up and he goes, "Oh my gosh, Geralt is dead. I can't believe it. I'm gonna write the best song for him." And let's just take a moment to talk about the heartbreak on that elf's face when he looks through the window and sees Yennefer and Geralt together. And then
Right.
Jaskiel comes, he goes, "Oh, they're alive. They're really alive." And I was like, yeah, I like you.
I mean, that's when I decided I liked him too, for sure. I do like Jaskier, and when I rewatched it again, liking him from first, him and Geralt have a really good like buddy cop chemistry. And I love that you can tell Geralt is sharing the audience's, "I think I'm going to kill you at any moment," until suddenly I can't.
Yeah.
And it seems that against my better judgment, I now like you. Damn it.
Though that when Yennefer's like, "You have lost me," and she walks away and Geralt's like really heartbroken. He goes, "So," and he turns around and snaps at him. You could see the heartbreak on him at that point. You're like, "Oh man, no, go back, hug your bard."
I'm so worried.
Now, one death that did crush me. Sintra's court mage.
Mousesack.
I loved him. He was funny and snarky and dry-humored and so loyal, and then dead.
I hope we get to see whatever previous adventure he and Geralt had together before they met up at the betrothal feast. But then again, I also have developed a very strange side crush on Ice.
Me too. Yeah, I had that moment, the battle scene where they're trying to push back Nilfgaard, and they're realizing that they're losing. And she's like, "I won't surrender, Sintra." And then like he gets shot through the eye with the arrow, and I'm like, maybe he can Shahudun it and like eat his eyeball and scare his. No, that went all the way through his head. He's dead. And I was just so sad.
I know. Like, Ice is awesome. And the fact I was watching with my mom, and so he stands up at the betrothal feast and is like, "And then if you have a problem with it, you're gonna fight Skellig too and all of our 50 ships, because Calanthe and I are going to be wed." And my mom's like, "When did he ask her?" And I'm like, right then. He asked her in a corner and she's not gonna say no.
We definitely highly recommend The Witcher. Yeah, it's got its moments, but for the most part, it's really solid. Real fun. If you really aren't the kind of person who likes timeline jumps, though, yeah, it probably isn't for you. But I don't know that it's that jarring. Like, it all comes together in the end anyway.
The vibe with the fractured fairy tales, like with that Curse of the Black Sun and Renfrey, there's some Grimm's fairy tales behind this somewhere. That I think if you're not really into that kind of big fantasy moments, I don't know if you're gonna like it.
Let us know what you thought of The Witcher, good or bad, why or why not. We want to hear from you. But yes, please check out our book, like and subscribe, leave a comment, and if you have any idea of another video, if there's something you want us to watch and review, we'd be more than happy to look into that. Yeah, as always, have a wonderful day.
Bye, everyone. Enjoy The Witcher.